What if Deku controlled the very shadows? Would he rise as a hero or be consumed by darkness? Find out in What If Deku Had a Darkness Manifestation Quirk? We see a 4-year-old black-haired boy playing with a 4-year-old girl named Katsumi Bakugo. Katsumi, look, I have a cool quirk, I'll be number 1. Izuku, that's great, you have a very strong quirk. Katsumi, why you're Izuku, when are you going to go see your quirk? Izuku, yo, and my mother are going to go tomorrow to see what my quirk will be, he would say excitedly. Katsumi, whatever your quirk is, it won't be better than mine, he would say with arrogance in his voice. The next day we see the same black-haired boy along with a thin woman with green hair heading to the hospital to find out what the boy's quirk is. Izuku, what do you think my quirk is, Mom? Inko, I don't know, but that's why we're here now, let's go and it's time. With that they walked through the door and went to the receptionist. After saying that they had an appointment, she let them in and they arrived at the waiting room where they were for the next 30 minutes. Speaker, Midoriya family, please come through gate 12. Inko, it's time. Izuku, let's see your quirk, she would say as they walk through the door. Doctor, well, Midoriya family are here for a quirk exam, right? Inko, that's right, we want to know what my son's quirk is. Doctor, okay, I need a sample of the little one's blood to be able to do the quirk tests, he would say approaching the little one. After obtaining the blood samples, the doctor left to find out what the boy's quirk was. When he returned, he came with some reports. Doctor, well, your son does have a quirk, but we don't know what his abilities are since the machine couldn't register them, but it was able to confirm that he does indeed have a quirk, he would say thoughtfully. Inko, then he has a quirk, she would say relieved. Doctor, I recommend that you go and if you see any ability manifest, make an appointment to find out what it is about. Inko, we will do it like that, don't worry, say goodbye, Izuku. Izuku, goodbye doctor, he would say very excitedly even though he didn't know what he was doing, he had a quirk which made him happy. The family went home and the next day Izuku went to his best friend to tell her what had happened and that he had a quirk. Izuku Kachin would shout looking at the girl. Katsumi, hello Izuku, tell me, do you have your quirk yet? The girl would ask quickly. Izuku, that's right, but I don't know what I can do with him. Katsumi, liar, there is no one who does not know how to use their quirk, you do not have a quirk, Deku. Izuku, I do have a who. He didn't finish his sentence as Katsumi hit him in the face with a strong explosion. Why did you do that, Kachin? Katsumi, don't call me that, you and I are not friends, someone with a strong quirk could never be friends with a useless quirk. Narrator. After those words the girl left leaving a sad Izuku alone, and as the years passed Izuku suffered from harassment and abuse during all this time because Katsumi said he was a quirkles and this spread throughout the school. We find ourselves on the last day of high school. Izuku, finally one more day and I'll be free from this hell. The black-haired man would think, I just hope Bakugo doesn't screw me up too much today. After the words and everything that happened Izuku changed a lot. Now he was cold and didn't trust anyone except his mother. So the day went by as usual for Izuku, with abuse and insults here and there, and we found ourselves in the last hour with his tutor. Professor, well, you have to sign these papers to go to university, he would say while holding some papers in his hands. Everyone except Izuku made faces of disgust. Professor, but who am I kidding? Everyone here wants to be heroes, he would say while throwing the papers in the air. Everyone except Izuku and Katsumi would scream as they activated their quirks. Teacher, remember that using your quirks at school is illegal. Katsumi, don't put me together with all these extras, Professor, he would say, arrogant as always. Professor, it's true you wanted to go to UA, isn't that true? Extra 1, I heard that UA's pass rate is 0.2%. Extra 2, she has a very strong quirk, she will surely pass the exam. Professor, it's true Midoriya also wanted to go to UA, isn't it like that? Everyone except Izuku and Katsumi the useless quirkles, ha ha ha. Katsumi Deku, she would scream as she lunged at her table with an explosion. How dare you go to UA, I was supposed to be the only one going from this dump. Narrator. After this situation the bell rang indicating that everyone should go to their houses. We will follow Izuku. He was passing through a tunnel when a villain appeared and tried to suffocate him. When Izuku thought he was going to die, All Might appeared who stopped the villain and said goodbye with a great jump. When Izuku returned home he saw that people were crowding in a curious area. He approached. Izuku, excuse me, what's going on? I would ask a civilian. Civilian 1, a villain took a girl hostage. Civil 2, because the heroes don't do anything, he said looking at the static heroes because they said they couldn't handle the villain. Narrator. At that moment Izuku saw that the hostage was Katsumi and decided to do something. At the moment he ran towards the villain to save his partner. When they realized the heroes tried to stop him but they did not succeed. When the villain attacked him, a pose of commands passed through his head and with no other options he made that pose, forming a dog. Suddenly from his shadow 2 dogs emerged, one white and one black, which began to attack the villain and defend Izuku. Izuku, where did these dogs come from and why do they defend me? Narrator. At that moment he took advantage and saved Katsumi, who was unconscious. Just at that moment All Might appeared and defeated the villain. Everyone scolded Izuku for his recklessness but they rescued Bakugo for holding out for so long. Minutes later, while Izuku was walking, someone appeared in front of him. All Might, I'm here, the blonde guy would shout energetically. Izuku, All Might. All Might, that's right young man, I've come to propose something to you. Narrator. Here All Might would tell him everything about One for All and about his battle and wound, also showing his true form in which he looked like an old man on the verge of death. All Might, and quite young, he says. Izuku, I'm sorry but I don't accept it. I want to be a hero with my own power. All Might, what are you going to do? Maybe you want me to train you, think about it. It seems that you need some training. Izuku, it's okay, where we would meet. All Might, it will be in. And so began his training, in which he gained a lot of physical strength, also discovering how his quirk works. Apparently he could manipulate shadows as he wanted and also form various animals, like a bird that he called Nu, a snake that he called Orochi, and a toad that he called Gamma. He also discovered that to have control over his shadows he had to defeat them in a 1 versus 1. That's how 10 months passed and we see an Izuku in front of a huge building which appears to be UA. Izuku, I will finally enter the school of my dreams, the black-haired boy would say in his thoughts while walking towards UA with a bunch of applicants who would be his enemies in this competition. We see Izuku in front of the UA doors. He was thinking about how he had come so far in just 10 months until a person he didn't want to see again yelled at him. Katsumi, out of my way, Deku. Narrator. Izuku simply ignored her as he continued on his way. He saw a girl who was about to fall and he quickly grabbed her shoulder. Girl, thank you very much, the girl would say with a permanent blush. You are also going to take the exam. Izuku, that's right, I've been training these last 10 months just for this moment. Girl, then we have to hurry up, the exam is about to start. Narrator. Izuku, as soon as he entered, went to the exam room and unfortunately he was next to Katsumi. She was bothering him until the exam started. When Izuku finished the theoretical exam, he went to the room to have them explain to him what the practical exam consisted of. Present mic. Good morning, dear listeners. The hero shouted at the top of his lungs, in this exam you will have to fight against robots which will give you points depending on how difficult they are to defeat. The first one is 1 point, followed by the one with 2 points and the one with 3 points. Blue-haired boy, excuse my interruption, but you only said 3 robots but the pamphlet says there are 4. If this is a mistake, UA should be ashamed, he said, interrupting the hero's conversation. And you, the girl in the background, are bothering us by talking so loudly. That is not the behavior of a hero, so you should leave immediately, he said, looking in the direction of Katsumi, who was telling Izuku that he shouldn't be here. Katsumi, what did you say? 4 eyes, he said to the blue-haired man with glasses. Izuku, you shut up, you two are not stopping bothering each other, and you, the blue-haired man, present mic, was about to explain it, so please return to your seats. After saying this, Katsumi just sat down and the blue-haired man apologized to the hero. You can continue, he said to the hero. Present mic, thank you very much, dear listener. Well, as I was saying, the 4th robot is the 0.1, as its name indicates, it does not give any points, so seeing it as an obstacle. Well, having said that, go to your practice field assigned in the pamphlets. Narrator. Izuku headed to his practice field. There the blue-haired boy apologized to him and Izuku told him to be more careful and stop judging people without knowing them. After this little talk, the hero's voice was heard again. Present mic, okay, the doors open in 3, 2, 1 and, yeah. Narrator. At that moment everyone went straight for the robots. We followed Izuku, who after starting found a group of 1 and 2 point robots. He immediately summoned his dogs and they finished off the robots without any problem. Time passed and there were only 10 minutes left for the exam to end. Nezu, I see that this generation is promising, the animal would say while looking at the monitors. All Might, of course these young people are very strong, the symbol of peace would say. Endeavor, none is better than my daughter. Nezu, what are you saying? Aizawa the rodent would say, looking at some kind of hooligan. Aizawa the boy who can summon dogs, the hobo in a sleeping bag, would say. All Might, young Midoriya is really strong. Narrator. Izuku was with his dogs defending a red-haired boy who could harden his skin. Izuku, are you okay? He would ask the boy in front of him. Boy, if you don't worry, by the way, my name is Kirishima Eijiro, a pleasure. Izuku Midoriya, a pleasure Kirishima. Narrator. At that moment the ground began to shake and Izuku saw everyone running in the opposite direction. Extra 1 It's the 0-point run. Extra 2 Where do they get the money to do that thing? Extra 3 The UA is crazy. Narrator. At that moment a robot the size of a building appeared in front of Izuku and Kirishima. Kirishima we have to run has said while running. Izuku was going to do the same when suddenly. Girl help would scream. Izuku I must help her, would think while making a pose of hands forming a bird shape. Nu he said while a bird came out of his shadow. Help me take down that robot. With the orders given Nu flew straight towards the robot with Izuku on his back while his dogs saved the girl and put her to safety. Extra 1 Someone is fighting with the 0 pints. Extra 2 He's crazy. Kirishima that's my bro he said encouraging Izuku. Narrator. Izuku along with Nu attacked the 0 point for a while until Izuku jumped off Nu to stab the robot with a sharp piece of metal right where he thought its control panel was, causing the robot to fall on its back and thus defeating it while Nu grabbed it by the shoulders without harming it. Present Mike the exam is over, go see recovery girl in case you have any injuries. Narrator. After this, Izuku left with Kirishima. They exchanged numbers to stay in touch and said goodbye. The following week, the UA results arrived. Inko Izuku, the results have arrived, she would tell her son to come down from his room. Izuku I'm coming mom he would tell her from his room. Narrator. When he went down he opened the envelope from UA and the homeless man came out to tell him the results. He had been first in the exam. After this, Izuku went to sleep since the next day he had to go to UA. Izuku my journey as a hero has already begun. Narrator. The next day Izuku was at UA arriving at class 1A, his class. Upon arriving he saw that it was a huge door. He finally decided to enter through the door, seeing the blue-haired boy and Katsumi fighting because Katsumi had her feet on the table. He also saw his bro Kirishima who greeted him. He also saw a bicolor girl very far from the rest looking out the window. This seemed strange to him but he didn't give it importance. Aizawa well that's enough he said getting out of his sleeping bag. Put this on and go to the training camp. We will start classes with a quirk test he said taking out a blue suit with the UA letters in white with red edges. Everyone would get up and go get dressed to go to the quirk exam. Aizawa well, to start with, step forward. The first in the exam Katsumi was about to take the step. Not you, I mean Midoriya he would say while throwing a baseball to Izuku. Well, throw the ball in the circle with your quirk. Narrator. Izuku would do as requested and summon Nu so that he could hit the ball with his best attack, sending it flying. Aizawa 1.2 km he said looking at a device that indicated the distance. Pink girl we can use our quirk however we want. How fun. Aizawa so funny then let's do this. The last one will be expelled from the academy he would say with a very strange smile. Almost everyone, the last one will be expelled, would say surprised by the news. Narrator. With Aizawa's words that the last one would be expelled, everyone took this test more seriously. In the end in the results the first was Izuku followed by Todoroki Shoka, the two-colored girl from before and Katsumi. Katsumi how does the useless Deku have a quirk? The girl wondered internally. Shoka Midoriya how strong are you? In any case I must defeat you, the bicolor would say internally. Mineta no, I'm going to be expelled he would say seeing how he is the last on the list. Aizawa about that, it was a joke to get you to bring out your full potential. Uraka then no one will be expelled. Momo it was obvious if you stop to think would say confidently. Izuku yo wouldn't be so sure. Yaoyorozu Professor Aizawa is the Eraserhead hero known for expelling an entire class last year. That's why there is no class 2A. Aizawa that's right, I saw potential in all of you. For now go back to class, there are some papers on top of your seats, go to class and look at them, this class is over. Narrator. After this quirk test, everyone in class 1A went to class to continue at school. It seemed that all the other classes that are not heroism are normal university classes, which disappointed several in the class. At the end of the day, it was time for heroism and there would finally be action. Aizawa attention, I will not teach today's class the teacher would say to his students. Uraka who do you think will give us class today? She would say looking at Izuku who had become her friend after the quirk test. Izuku I don't know but I could get an idea if I knew what we were going to do. Narrator. Suddenly, quick footsteps were heard and someone came through the door. All Might I'm coming through the door like a normal person would shout the peace sign at the top of his lungs. All Might. All Might that's right young people today we will have a combat class he would say taking out a card that said combat. Narrator. After this All Might would give them their hero suits and they would go to City B. All Might Well will make teams of 2 to capture a bomb guarded by the other team. Narrator. The explanation and equipment are all as in the original story. All Might Well team of young Midoriya and Bakugo, start. Narrator. After giving the signal, Izuku and Uraka entered through a window while they walked looking for the bomb. Katsumi appeared in front of them. Katsumi, I'll let you pass round face, but Deku will face me. Izuku ve Uraka, I'll take care of her. Uraka, okay, good luck. Narrator. The fight between Izuku and Katsumi began, in which Izuku used his divine dogs to attack while he planned his strategy. After a while, Katsumi managed to get the dogs away and went after Izuku, but he quickly dissolved into shadows to avoid the attack. Katsumi was surprised by this but did not have much time until Nu attacked him in the back, leaving her paralyzed. Taking advantage of this, Izuku ran towards her and hit her in the stomach so that Nu would reappear and hit Katsumi again with her electricity. Katsumi, bad damned, would say with pain. Izuku, what's wrong? You weren't the strongest of all, you haven't even hit me. Izuku mocked a little. Katsumi, shut up, he shouted, pointing his arm at him. You know what my quirk does, right, Deku? If you did this as I asked, then I will defeat you. All Might, stop young Bakugo, you're going to kill him, he would shout through the speakers. Katsumi, it won't kill him if he dodges it, he would say, finally releasing the trigger. Narrator. A huge explosion occurred, blowing part of the building to pieces. Katsumi, yo, wins Deku. Izuku, that would be if you had given it to me, he would say, coming out of the shadows of a wall. Katsumi, like. Izuku, I can hide in the shadows, there I won't suffer any harm, explained the black-haired man. Narrator. After his explanation, a large snake came out of the shadows and caught Katsumi. Katsumi, W, what is this, would ask incredulously. Izuku, I win. Izuku quickly went through the shadows to the bomb and touched it with his hand. All Might, the heroes win, he would shout through the speakers. Narrator. Everyone is very surprised by Izuku's ability, and Kirishima was saying things like that's my bro or how manly, while the bicolor was thinking that she had to surpass Midoriya to be number 1. The rest of the fights happen the same as in the anime. Izuku, today was a very long day, thought as he entered his house. Inko, how was your first day? Izuku, I did well mom, I'm going to bed, I'm tired. This is how her first day at UA ended, to give way to the next. Narrator. We are at the entrance to the UA, where Izuku finds himself in a situation that every hero has suffered at some point. Reporter 1, could you tell us what it's like to have All Might as a teacher? The reporter would ask while looking at Izuku. Izuku, the truth is that as a teacher he is terrible. Now if you excuse me, I have class. Narrator. While Izuku arrived to class, he met Aizawa and they went to class together. When they arrived, they saw how everyone was talking and others were shouting. At this, Aizawa just sighed. Aizawa, okay, I have an announcement to make, so everyone, go to your seats, he said as his eyes turned red because of his quirk and his hair levitated in the air. Okay, now that everyone is seated, I'll tell you that next week we'll go on a field trip to USJ and you'll also have to choose your class president. Do it however you want, just don't wake me up, he said as he got into his sleeping bag. Mina, I will be the president, vote for me. Kirishima, don't vote for me. Mineta, if you vote for me, the skirts will be 12 centimeters higher. Narrator. Everyone started arguing about who should be the president until Lita proposed a vote without being able to vote for themselves. At the end of the vote, Izuku became president and Momo became vice president. Izuku, because they voted for me. Momo, let's do our best, Midoriya. Izuku, of course I'm counting on you, Yaoyorozu. Narrator. After this class the bell rang and everyone went to the cafeteria for something to eat. Izuku, I think this place is fine, would think while looking at a table away from everyone and sat there to eat. Shoka, can I sit here, she would ask the black-haired man coldly. Izuku, yes of course, would say, somewhat surprised. Why did you decide to sit here? Don't you prefer to be with our companions, would ask the bicolor. Shoka, they are annoying, she would say coldly. What is your quirk about, she would ask this time. Izuku, my quirk, she nodded. Well, you could say that I can manipulate shadows as I want, either trapping them or moving through them as you saw in All Might's practice. Shoka, why, how you summon those animals? Izuku, when I do his respective hand sign the Shikigami appears. Shoka, Shikigami? Izuku, the animals you see are my Shikigami which I summon through my hand poses, explained the black-haired man, but in order to have total control over the Shikigami you must first defeat it one-on-one to prove that you are worthy of summoning it. Shoka, what happens if you can't defeat him, the bicolor would ask with doubt. Izuku, once you can no longer move or can no longer continue fighting, the Shikigami will take the victory and leave, but they don't kill me, they just leave me unconscious. I know this because I had to make many attempts to control Nu. Note. I know that in JJK the Shikigami kill you if you fail to defeat them. We already saw it with Megumi and Maharega, who if it weren't for Sukuna would have died, but I did this so that Izuku doesn't die, since if he summons Maharega there is no way he would survive. End note. Shoka, then why don't you ask a hero for help? They can help you subdue those Shikigami, she will ask doubtfully. Izuku, it wouldn't work. Once the Shikigami is defeated it wouldn't be under my control, for that I must defeat it alone, but I can get more people into the ritual to challenge the Shikigami. Shoka, I see, then I must surpass you to be number one, she will say, this time colder than before. Izuku Chu would not finish speaking because an alarm would sound throughout UA. Loudspeaker alerts a villain has entered the premises. Narrator. Here everything would be like in the original story. We are in class 1A. Izuku, I want to give my position to Lida. I think he would be a better president than me. Lida, if the president thinks it's the right thing to do then I'll take over, she would say while making a robot-like movement with her arm. Narrator. So the days pass little by little. The day of the USJ was closer, but before we will see what Izuku is doing a day before going to the USJ. Izuku, well, it's time to get this Shikigami, would think while making a pose of hands that formed a deer. Narrator. At that moment a deer came out of his shadow ready to attack. Izuku stood on guard while summoning Nu. As soon as Nu appeared, the deer had a mini fight in which the deer seemed to heal from all damage. Izuku, so that's what this Shikigami does. It would be nice to have it. Narrator. Izuku summons Orochi and ordered Nu to grab him and go after the deer. As soon as Izuku arrived, he jumped at him and stabbed the deer with a knife. When Orochi bit him harder, Nu finished him off with his electric attack, making Izuku the winner and obtaining the Shikigami. Izuku Madoka while making the same pose as before and a deer came out from behind him. I see that now you are my partner and you heal all wounds. You even healed mine, he said as he watched his wounds disappear. You are certainly very useful, he said to make the Shikigami disappear. Narrator. Now if we go to the UA on the day of the USJ we meet in the school courtyard. Aizawa, get on the bushes, said as he got on the bus. Lida, form an orderly line to get on the bus, said the president, but no one listened to him. Narrator. When everyone was in their seats, Aizawa began to drive towards the USJ. On the way, everyone talked about their lives until Tsuyu spoke to our black-haired protagonist. Tsuyu, I always say what I think. Midoriya, what is your quirk? Izuku, summon animals like you saw and also move through the shadows, the boy would say, half telling the truth. I don't want to reveal too much to the whole class, I only told her, he would think looking at the girl next to him, but I don't plan on telling anyone else for now, I'll keep some tricks to myself. Aizawa, Callants, we've arrived, go down and hurry up, I don't have all day. Narrator. They all went down and entered the USJ, there they met who would be their instructor, the heroine 13, she would tell them about how quirks can kill if they are not used correctly, and when they finally started with their class a portal appeared out of nowhere from which a bunch of villains came out. Aizawa 13 protects the students, he would say while launching himself at the villains. 13 Okay, let's go, we have to get out of here, everyone follow me. Narrator. Just as they were about to leave, a fog appeared in front of them, blocking their way. Fog, hello, we are the League of Villains and we have come to kill All Might, but we do not see him here. Could you tell us where he is? The purple fog would ask. 13 I'll take care of it, she would say, making a black hole in her finger and pointing at the mist, but it created a portal causing her to damage herself with her power and leaving her on the verge of death. Uraka 13 would shout towards her favorite heroine. Narrator. At that moment Katsumi and Kirishima launched themselves against the villain who only pushed them aside to create a bunch of portals that would separate the entire class through the USJ. Izuku, where am I? Would think, seeing that it was raining I must be in the rainy area of the USJ, so he separated us to finish us off easier, our protagonist would deduce, but just at that moment a villain appeared and tried to kill Izuku. He realized it too late, but a large shadow with yellow eyes appeared hitting the villain. I don't remember being able to do that, the black-haired man would think. Tokoyami, are you okay? Midoriya, the chicken-faced student, would ask. Izuku, were you the one with the shadow? He would ask with doubt. Tokoyami, see, as my quirk called Dark Shadow. Izuku, it's quite similar to mine. Tokoyami, it's not time to compare quirks, he would say, seeing how a bunch of villains were going for them. Izuku, I think you're right, he would say, summoning one of his dogs. Narrator. After defeating the villains, Izuku and Tokoyami went in search of more of their classmates, finding Uraka with Tsuyu and Mineta. They decided to go see how their teacher was doing, and when they arrived they saw something that horrified them. Shigaraki, that's Nomu, kill him, he would say, watching as a very horny bird crushed Aizawa's head. Izuku, I have to do something. the black-haired man thought, but before he did anything the USJ door exploded. "All Might, I'm here," he said without his characteristic smile. Narrator. As All Might found out, Lita had escaped, thanks to a plan, and was able to go and warn the heroes so they could help stop the villains. "Shigaraki, All Might was waiting for you, now you will die for my Nomu." Narrator. Thus the same fight as in the anime took place, but here the Nomu managed to damage All Might and he had to retreat so that they would not see his true form. At that moment Izuku told his companions to escape to the exit and not to get close whatever would happen to the fight. They agreed and ran to the entrance of the USJ. Izuku, well, now is the time, this is going to hurt a lot, would think while seeing Madoka at the bottom of the battlefield. As soon as Madoka flies out, I will heal and survive this, I just have to resist the first blow and it will be a victory, would think of his plan. "Shigaraki, you've gone crazy, kid. Do you think you're going to face my Nomu alone? Not even All Might could do it? What are you going to do?" Izuku would simply not say anything as he began to crouch down and stretch his two arms out in front of each other, closed one in front of the other. Sacred artifact oscillates and vibrates. Suddenly all the lights in the USJ went out. Sword of the 8 divergent leaves of the Sela. A white figure appeared behind Izuku. Divine General Maharega. Izuku would finish reciting, "Here it comes." Narrator. Suddenly the Shikigami gave Izuku a right hook, which sent him flying under the incredulous gaze of everyone. He fell near Madoka, who began to heal him quickly. "Shigaraki, what the hell is that thing?" he would say from a distance. "Nomu, finish it," he would order the Nomu. Narrator. At that moment the Nomu went to hit Maharega, but the attack did nothing to him and Maharega counterattacked, sending the Nomu flying. Everyone was impressed by the way Maharega seemed to adapt to his rival's blows and his tremendous strength. When all the students and All Might were together at the entrance, they watched as Maharega won, or rather humiliated, the Nomu until with one cut Maharega finally adapted to his regeneration, killed the Nomu, thus disappearing because they failed to defeat him. Everyone saw how someone got up in the distance, turning out to be Izuku. "All Might, young Midoriya, are you okay?" Izuku, "See, Madoka was able to heal me enough to survive the first hit." "Shoka, that was your plan, to kill yourself to defeat them?" Izuku, "It was the only thing I could do. Plus I thought of a plan in which no matter what happened I would survive." "All Might, it was reckless but necessary. Forgive me for not being able to handle that thing." Izuku, "Don't worry, besides something inside me was telling me to summon Maharega." Narrator. After all this fighting and seeing the enormous power of Maharega, everyone went home except the wounded, who went to the hospital, and in that way their first week at UA ended. Narrator. After the USJ incident, Izuku went home to sleep. "Izuku, I'm home," he would say as he entered his house. "Inko, are you okay? I saw the news and they say that they attacked the USJ," the woman would quickly say to her son. Izuku, "Don't worry mom, I'm fine, All Might saved us all." Inko, "Okay," she would say, more relaxed now, "go take a shower and then come eat, dinner is almost ready." Izuku, "It's okay." Narrator. We go to the next day at UA, in which Izuku was talking to Kirishima in class about the incident at USJ. Kirishima, "Hey bro, what was that white thing you summoned?" he would ask, talking about Maharega. Izuku, "He is my best Shikigami, the strongest, he can adapt to any attack you give him. Once adapted, Maharega has victory assured. To beat him you must destroy him with a single blow or before he adapts to your quirk." The black-haired man would explain about his best Shikigami. Kirishima, "Pro, then why did he almost kill you? Know he is your Shikigami." Shoka, "That's because he has to beat him in a 1 versus 1 to have him under control," the girl would explain, joining in on the conversation. Kirishima, "How do you know that?" Shoka, "L told me." Kirishima, "You tell her before your bro," he would say, looking at Izuku. Izuku, "You never asked," I said simply. Aizawa, "Shut up everyone, today I have an important announcement," he would say, entering the classroom completely blindfolded except for his eyes. Lita, "Teacher is fine, I don't think she can teach." Uraka, "That's what you call being okay," she would say, looking at Aizawa. Aizawa, "A hero never rests, and your battle is not over yet." Kaminari, "More villains," I would say with fear. Mineta, "Send Midoriya," he would say, hiding. Aizawa, "They are not villains, the sports festival is approaching and you have to prepare to win." Momo, "At the festival, the heroes will be watching to send in applications to join an agency when we graduate." Aizawa, "That's right, so you have this whole week to prepare and train." Narrator. And so the week of training began. This week, Izuku tried to tame the elephant. He went through several attempts. We focused on what would be his last attempt. The second day. Izuku, "I'm already tired, if I don't beat him in this I'm going home," would say while making a pose with his hands forming an elephant, and thus the elephant appeared, which instantly attacked him with its water. Not even a little truce, he would think, dodging the attack. Then I won't hold back either, he thought while summoning Nu and Orochi, which appeared behind him. Narrator. At that moment Nu and Orochi fought bitterly while Izuku assessed his situation and made a plan. As soon as he saw an opportunity, Izuku summoned his dogs to attack with a kick while his Shikagamis defended him, and at the same time they attacked the elephant without stopping, which could not defend itself because Izuku did not give it the opportunity, and when the elephant inflated its trunk, Izuku covered its trunk with a stick that he had in his shadow and thus caused the Shikigami to hit itself, knocking it down and soaking it. At that moment Izuku gave Nu the order to attack with his best attack and thus completely knocked down the Shikigami. After the attack, the elephant was no longer there and Izuku summoned it again, but it was already tamed. Izuku, it cost me a lot to defeat him. He is undoubtedly strong, but my training has only just begun. Narrator. During the rest of the week, Izuku experimented with his Shikigami Nevis and ended up being able to throw water between his hands, creating a jet of pressurized water that could pierce anything and also generate water like Banshu did, but not as strong as the elephant would. Izuku, this is incredible, but I wonder if I could do this with my Damar Shikagamis. The black-haired man would ask himself. Right now I don't have time. I have to go to the sports festival. Narrator. At the stadium where the festival was to take place, people were sitting in the stands ready to watch the UA first year festival. "Present Mike, welcome to the freshman festival," I would shout at the top of my lungs. Narrator. In the waiting room of Class 1A they were talking about this festival. "Kirishima, who do you think will win, bro?" I would say to Izuku. "Izuku, I don't know, but this is going to be fun," he would say excitedly. "Shoka Midoriya." "Izuku, Todoroki, what do you want?" I would ask the bicolor one. "Shoka, even with everything you have shown, I think I am superior to you. I will defeat you in this festival," she would say seriously and leaving the room. Kaminari, a declaration of war between the strongest in the class. "Kirishima, I think my Dobro is stronger." "Izuku, that doesn't matter right now." "Lita, get ready, we have to go out and introduce ourselves." Narrator. The presentation of the classes would be the same as in the original story. Midnight, now the number one in the exams will give a speech. Izuku, I was not informed of this, would think while he wanted to kill Aizawa for not telling him. "Well, they didn't tell me about this," he would say through the microphone, "but I just want to say that everyone should give their best to win in this festival because I will go with everything and I hope you do the same so that the best one wins." Narrator. After Izuku's words the festival began. The first test was a race. "Present Mike, yie, start," the blonde would shout. Narrator. At that moment Shoka froze the entire exit tunnel and slid across the ice. Those in Class 1A had already anticipated him and dodged him. "Momo, I won't fall for that, Todoroki." "Katsumi, you were really thinking of stopping me with that damn half and half." Narrator. Izuku simply summoned Nu and flew to the end of the race. Present Mike, incredible Midoriya flew away with a kind of bird towards the exit, the blonde would say shouting. "Aizawa, that's one of the animals that can be summoned, I really thought about it." Narrator. Izuku wouldn't fight and would simply win the race easily. The rest were arriving. The second to arrive was Shoka, followed closely by Katsumi, who grunted when she saw that she came third and the useless one according to her first. "Midnight and the second round will be," he said while spinning a roulette. "Cavalry battle," he would shout after seeing the result. Narrator. After he said what the points and rules of the game would be, no one wanted to team up with Izuku because he had 10 million points. In the end, he managed to team up with someone from Apollo's group, Uraka, and Tokoyami. Once the group was in place, Izuku thought of a plan. "Present Mike, yai, start," the blonde would shout again. Narrator. After starting, everyone went after Izuku and his 10 million points. Izuku and his team did the same as in the original story. "We don't go to the end of the test." Izuku, "Well, it's almost over, there's only 1 minute left." Tokoyami, "Don't sing victory, we still have to defend ourselves." Just at that moment Shoka froze the place where they were going. "They caught us." "Shoka, I'll keep those points," she would say seriously. Izuku, "Well, come and try it." Tokoyami, "You're not going to fight, right?" he would say looking at Izuku. Izuku, "Don't worry so much, they won't beat us." Tokoyami, "You say it with great confidence." Narrator. At that moment, what happened as Lita in the original story happened. "Lita, you have them, Todoroki?" she asked her partner. Shoka, "Yes, I have them," he said, seeing a band in his hand. "Present Mike, it's over," I would shout to Aizawa's annoyance. "Aizawa, stop yelling, Mike." "Present Mike, how bitter, but hey, the winner of this round is the team of Midoriya," I would scream when he said his last name. Shoka, "But how?" she would ask, surprised and looking at the band in her hand. Izuku, "Tokoyami's shadow gave me a band, the 10 million one I have on my arm," he said, raising his arm showing a band that said 10 million. Narrator. After finishing the test, Everyone was talking with their classmates about how they did on the test. Uraka and Midoriya where is? Lita Todoroki wanted to talk to him so they left to talk in private. Mina well third place isn't bad. Kirishima you think she thinks the same he would say seeing Katsumi boiling with rage. Katsumi that damn Deku has already beaten me twice, how much power does that useless guy have, the Muslim woman would think. Narrator. We leave with Izuku who is in front of the bicolor who still hadn't said anything. Izuku will tell me something, I'm hungry. Shoka in the previous test I was overwhelmed by your power. Izuku why so much obsession with being the strongest? Shoka you know about quirk marriages Izuku nodded slightly my father married my mother in a forced marriage to have a son with a quirk capable of surpassing all might because he himself could not compete against him he was silent for a moment the first attempt was my brother Toya who died because of overexerting his quirk, the next were my brothers Natsuo and Fuyumi which I call mistakes for having a weak quirk then I came with a fire and ice quirk he called me his perfect creation and caused my mother to give me this scar on my face sending her to a psychiatric hospital since then he has not used his fire and I will show her that I do not need her power to win the festival he would say seriously looking at Izuku and then leaving. Izuku I don't think I should get involved in family problems, but I'm going to. If she keeps holding back she'll end up dead and she also has a wrong image of her quirk, the black-haired man would think. Narrator. After Izuku and Shoka's conversation and Izuku promising to help her even if she lost, the third and final round of the sports festival began. Narrator. We are in the center of the stadium. Midnight let the third part of the festival begin. There will be 1 versus 1 fights. The first fight will be between Izuku and Shinso. Ojiro I want to retire the boy with a tail would say. Midnight are you sure? Ojiro yes. I wish to retire since I do not think I deserve to be here he would say remembering how Shinso washed his brain and used it to pass the round. Midnight does anyone else want to leave 2 other people raise their hands very well the festival can begin. Ojiro be careful, he can brainwash you just by answering one of his questions he would say looking at Izuku. Izuku I'll keep that in mind, thanks Ojiro. Narrator. This fight really didn't last long since Izuku slid through his shadow and hit Shinso with a strong punch that knocked him off the platform. Izuku your quirk is great but it's useless if you can be defeated in melee. Shinso you really think my quirk is cool. Izuku see you just need to improve melee. Narrator. Izuku left the stadium with Shinso who went with his class and Izuku continued his way to the waiting room. The fights continued and Izuku now had to face Shoka and was in the hallways ready to face her. Endeavor hey Brady said speaking to Izuku I want you to make Shoka use his fire side. Izuku I will do it Endeavor smiled widely but I won't do it because you asked me to the black-haired man would say. Endeavor what do you mean Brett he would say noticeably angry. Izuku you are a terrible father, tell me what you will feel when Todoroki surpasses All Might this question would surprise Endeavor. Endeavor I. Not knowing what to answer. Izuku that's what I thought, true happiness comes from family, I didn't have the opportunity to meet my father but if he were to stand in front of me now and tell me that he was my father, I would never consider him my father. You must apologize to your family and give up on surpassing All Might, being number 1 is just a title that is worthless. Narrator. After those words from Izuku to number 2, Izuku went to his fight and Endeavor stayed thinking about what the boy told him, realizing that it was a stupid goal to surpass All Might using his children and decided to apologize to his family. Present Mike the fight that everyone was waiting for is here, the Ice Queen Shoka Todoroki versus the Shadow Man Izuku Midoriya everyone got excited and Shoka went up to the platform followed by Izuku. Midnight you know the rules, let's fight. Izuku knew would say doing the hand pose with the bird appearing. Shoka I must be careful with this one, would think looking at our narrator. The fight was intense, neither of them landed a single hit on the other, Izuku because it was new who attacked and Shoka because he was covered by the bird until Shoka managed to enclose Izuku in a pillar of ice. Shoka I won he would say with pieces of ice stuck to his skin. Izuku I have to be more serious if I want him to use it, said making a pose with his hands forming a dog. Narrator. Everyone saw how the ice was destroyed and some smoke came out when it dissipated. Everyone was surprised because Izuku's dog was bigger than usual and seemed stronger. Izuku divine dog totality is the union of my 2 divine dogs. Narrator. Shoka would be surprised but she would say. Shoka why don't you use all your Shikigami she would say confusing everyone with the word she used to refer to Izuku's animals. Izuku I'm holding back just like you. Shoka no plans to use his power. Izuku you're wrong about the part about his power because it's your power he would say to the bicolor who would start to shed tears and release some flames. Shoka, I also want to be a heroine, she screamed, releasing her fire and ice at the same time. Izuku, how about one last hit? Shoka, okay, he would say, forming an attack. Izuku, it's time to use the combination of Banshu and Nu, the black-haired man would think, putting his two palms together. Narrator. At that moment their attacks hit, resulting in an explosion of fire and water which soaked everyone in the stadium. Just when they thought Shoka was going to win, Nu appeared, hitting Shoka with an electric attack which sent her flying and ending up outside the arena. Midnight. Izuku Midoriya wins the match, the heroine would announce. Narrator. After the fight, Izuku helped Shoka get to the infirmary to be cured while he prepared for the final fight against Katsumi. Izuku, how was the fight between Uraka and Bakugo? I would ask Kirishima. Kirishima, Bakugo defeated Uraka but left her badly injured and is being taken to the infirmary, the redhead would say seriously. Narrator. At that moment they called Izuku to fight and he went down to the arena where Katsumi was already ready to fight. Katsumi, get ready, you useless guy, because I will win. Izuku, will see about that, he would say seriously. It's time to test my theory. If Madoka uses energy to heal herself and heal others, it means that the energy was manipulated, like when I summon a Shikigami and concentrate it in my fists, it should give me more strength when attacking. He would think about his new technique. Midnight start, he would say, jumping off the platform. Katsumi, get ready, Deku, he would say, throwing himself at him, making explosions. Izuku, I'm ready, would think, and at the same time his fists would be wrapped in a kind of blue fire. Narrator. Everyone was surprised by Izuku's new technique as he went towards Katsumi at an incredible speed to punch her that sent her flying. This surprised everyone even more because of the black-haired man's new strength. Izuku wouldn't stop there and would continue hitting Katsumi until one of those blows caused black flashes to come out of the blow, sending Katsumi off the platform. Izuku, what happened? I feel less tired, as if my energy came back and that blow was even more powerful than the previous ones. Narrator. After this, Izuku won the first-year sports festival and they gave the medal to Izuku for first place, Katsumi for second place, and Tokoyami, who came in third after being defeated in the previous round. All Might, young Midoriya makes me proud. Izuku, you tell me why you came to see me. All Might, in the end I don't know who the one for all gives any option to. Izuku, apart from the third year of my course, I would say it could be Kirishima or Todoroki, although if I had to choose the best it would be Kirishima. His body seems suitable to be able to carry the one for all without going through training. It would save you a few months of work. All Might, then I'll give it to him and let him know to meet me in a few minutes in the teacher's lounge. Izuku understood. Narrator. Izuku went to see Kirishima and tell him what All Might said. After this he went to see someone else. Izuku, how do you feel? He would say, looking ahead. Shoka, I'm better, thanks for coming. Izuku, why did you want to see me? The boy asked quickly. Shoka, it's because the old man came to see me. Izuku, and what's wrong with that? Shoka, L seems sorry for everything he did to my family. Izuku, that's because I made him open his eyes even a little. Shoka, why would you do that? Izuku, after you told me everything that happened to your family, I thought I should tell him all his mistakes to his face and see if he changes his attitude. Shoka, you're good at that. Izuku, I guess so, he would say with a smile. You have already been discharged. Shoka, see, I'll be leaving with my father in a few minutes. Izuku, well then, see you another day. Todoroki. Shoka, he would turn to see her. Call me Shoka, please. Izuku, in that case you call me Izuku, he said to open the door. See you another day. Shoka, he would say, leaving the room. Shoka, bye Izuku. Narrator. With this the sports festival ended and Izuku went home to rest for today, since tomorrow he would have class at UA.